Hi, happy Monday. I wish we were sitting face to face. You probably don't, but I do. I like that a lot more than online, but you've heard my views on online public speaking, but obviously we didn't have any choice in this matter, so it is what it is. So just a quick reminder that your topic proposals for your informative speeches are due tonight by midnight, April 6th. If you have any questions or anything, just email me or text me and I can help you out with that. And then your outlines are going to be due April 20th. We've been told by the department they should have everything ready to go to have you guys upload speeches by the 27th. So I thought that would give us a little wiggle room in between in case your outline needs some tweaking or something. So just a brief lesson today. Obviously, now that we're getting into informative speeches, and then if we wind up doing the persuasive speeches, which I don't know if we're going to have time to do that, one of the most important things that you will do in these speeches is have sources. You'll have information, you'll have research. If you're informing us about something, you've got to get that information somewhere, right? You can't just make it up or just pull it out of your brain. Some of it you can. I mean, if it's a topic that you're already knowledgeable about, obviously. But for the most part, you're going to be doing some research. I believe on the informative speech, you're going to have a requirement of at least 4 sources. You'll be citing those in the speech as well as in the bibliography too. So I just kind of wanted to go over some do's and don'ts on how to best do your sources and how to best go about getting information and research and things like that. And hopefully I can share a few ideas with you that maybe you hadn't thought about. So let me get to the slide. Okay, so really what you're doing when you're citing sources, you are supporting your ideas. You're telling us information about this thing, this event, this person, but how do we know? How do we know it's legit? How do we know where you got it? How do we know that information is true? That's why you need to support your ideas. So different ways you can support your topic is by giving an example, by giving us statistics, and also by maybe giving testimonies. So for example, if you were to do your speech on what is the hottest topic in the world right now, the coronavirus, maybe you give your speech on how they came about finding a vaccination for the coronavirus. You might give some examples of, hey, this is where they first tried it. This is how they were testing it out. And statistics, wow, when they first started using it, 1 out of 5 people still got it. And then maybe some testimony from somebody that got vaccinated and wound up not getting it. So they're all very powerful and they make for a way better speech if you can include some of these things. So an example, obviously, give us a specific case. Maybe if you're talking about the coronavirus and the impact on Springfield and the businesses here, you might talk about how many restaurants have closed, how many people have been laid off. Give us an example. I've got several friends that have been laid off. You could tell us a story about one of those, or maybe yourself even. So when you give an example, you can give a very brief example. Say if you were talking about how businesses were affected, you could say, and for example, one of Springfield's favorite restaurants, Maria's downtown Springfield, it's not open anymore. My husband and I drove by the other night and we're really hoping they were doing curbside, and they weren't. I wanted a curbside margarita, but that's not going to happen right now. An extended example, maybe you might tell a story about, hey, every Thursday we go to our favorite restaurant and I always order this and I always order that. Well, now because of this virus, all the things that we took for granted are no longer here. Maybe it's hypothetical. So maybe, you're getting us to imagine what it might be like if, wow, imagine if all your favorite places that you like to go to in the whole world are all closed. Disney World, Maria's, maybe you like to go bowling and the bowling place is closed. How awful would that be to have all those places closed? Well, it just happened, and it's never happened before, and hopefully will never happen again. So yeah, brief example, just refer in passing to illustrate a point. Extended example, tell a story. You know, we've always talked about how powerful stories are in your speeches and how they come from the heart. So they're more powerful and people are more apt to pay attention and to believe you and actually feel something because you're telling a story about something that you felt. And then a hypothetical. What if, or imagine this. Those are always really interesting ways to give examples too. So some things you want to keep in mind when you're giving examples: clarify them, make your examples very clear. You want to reinforce so we understand, personalize it, make it a personal story, a personal experience. More details, the better. Remember how we talked about anytime you can paint a picture when telling a story and give us a visual, it's going to be way more interesting. And then practice, 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 practice those details so you don't forget them. So some of your speeches, you might want to use statistics. You know, when you think about, gosh, if I just said a bunch of statistics, that's going to be kind of boring. So yeah, you don't want to use a ton, you know, maybe use a couple more powerful ones to kind of quantify your ideas. So, you know, once again, I know I'm beating this dead horse, coronavirus, but that's all anybody's talking about. You know, maybe that 1 out of 5 people in Springfield have been laid off or furloughed their jobs because of the coronavirus. Okay, that's pretty easy to grasp. 1 in 5, you move on. It's not a huge number. You don't want to use a ton, use them sparingly. You want to say where you got that information. How do you know this? Did you make it up? Round it off. I mean, if it's 29.876%, you can say almost 30%. Makes it a lot easier to remember. And if possible, use a visual aid. Use a chart. Show us a graph. Give us a pie graph. Testimony, I think, is super powerful in a speech. So if you can give expert testimony, so maybe if you're talking about the coronavirus and its effect, how many people have it in Greene County, you could cite the, I don't remember his name, the guy that's doing the press conferences every day, that's the head of the Greene County Health Department. Testimony from somebody like him, that's going to be pretty valuable. So anytime you can use expert testimony is always going to give you way more credibility. And maybe it's somebody you know, if you're talking about a topic that somebody in your family or a friend of yours knows a lot about, or they've experienced it, use them. It can be people that, it doesn't have to be a famous expert, it can be anybody. So, you know, if you are talking about the, you know, how the coronavirus has affected businesses here in Springfield, you can talk about, wow, my mom has worked at this place for 25 years and she just got laid off for the first time. That's pretty powerful because it's somebody you know, it's an expert, and anytime you can give their point of view too, it's very, very powerful. Giving a quote is also a great way to use a source. You can use quotes very creatively. You can start your speech off with a quote. You can use a quote to, you know, to kind of bring a point home. Maybe if you just kind of need something else, another source, gosh, look up quotations. There's a million of them on every topic in the world. You want to be careful not to use a quote out of context, just to pull out the phrases that you want to use, but don't really get across the meaning of what the person was originally saying. That's not a good thing to do. You want to avoid that. But paraphrasing is perfectly fine. So, you know, you could basically not have to read the quote verbatim, but just give us the idea of what this person was saying in their own words. So things to keep in mind for testimony type sources. If you're quoting, you want to do it verbatim, you want to read it, you want to have it on your note cards. You can paraphrase accurately. Use qualified sources, reputable. Don't, using a blog or using, something that's not reputable is probably not advisable, but use sources that we've heard of, we know of, we trust, things like that. Unbiased sources. You definitely want to stay away from opinions in an informative speech. To stick to the facts. And you definitely want to identify your sources. Where did you get this information? Because you will be, anytime you give any kind of information that needs to be cited, you're going to do that in your speech too. So when you're doing that, so for example, if I said, well, according to the Springfield News Leader article on March 31st, 2020, they said that, 1 out of 5 people in Springfield got laid off. Boom. I said the name of the document. I didn't know the author, but I said Springfield News Leader. Obviously, we know they're qualified, and I gave the date. So it just makes it sound a lot more believable as well. This is another way you could do it. The Minneapolis Star Tribune on January 31st, 2018 quotes Chris Nowinski. Who is this person? The co-founder of the Concussion Legacy Foundation. So you've said the source, who the expert is, why they're important, and what they said, quote. So super, super powerful. So that's really the gist of your sources. Once again, don't forget topic proposals due tonight, April 6th. Then start working on your outlines, and let's just keep ahead of the game, and we're going to get through this. I promise. This semester is going to fly by. And I miss you guys, and I hope you're doing fine, and don't be afraid to reach out if you need anything or have any questions or anything you need to talk through. If you need help with a topic, let me know. And I will talk to you in a few days. Thank you.